Hello, my name's Stephen Mather, I'm a solicitor, and here are my 8 slightly tongue-in-cheek reasons why you shouldn't have a shareholders agreement for your company. We've been friends since school. I trust him, he's a good guy. She's my wife and my best friend. I've heard them all. You're different. You and your fellow shareholders will never fall out. You'll never have a disagreement, so it's fine, you don't need a shareholders agreement. Well look, I've dealt with loads of shareholder actions at court, and almost all of them are preceded by a falling out of 2 or more shareholders, and boy do they fall out. It's never just a small tiff. They end up all bitter and twisted, personal and like the worst divorce ever. At least in a divorce there's usually a new, better relationship on the agenda. So a shareholders agreement allows you and your company to set down what happens if there is a dispute and agreements can't be reached on decision-making processes, including a referral to mediation or a third-party decision maker such as an accountant or an auditor. Number 2, you have no intention of having different dividend policies. In many family companies, accountants have advised company owners to add non-working spouses as shareholders in order to extract profit through dividends. While on the face of it, this is less attractive than it has been in the past for tax reasons, it's still a common option. If you don't want to have the flexibility to give dividends to certain share classes, then you don't need a shareholders agreement. And if you do, then get a shareholders agreement in place. Number 3, you'd be happy with a complete stranger buying the other person's shares. So without a shareholders agreement, a shareholder of a company can technically sell his or her shares to a third party without your consent. Imagine a situation where you are then having to deal with someone you don't know, or worse still, that they don't work and just extract profit out of the business. What are you going to do then? So with a shareholders agreement, you can control the sale of shares through what are known as preemption rights. These allow you to require a selling shareholder to offer their shares to the other shareholders first before any sale can take place. A so-called right of first refusal is important to ensure that the business is not taken over by external and potentially unknown third parties. Number 4, you have no intention of growing and selling your business. Many good businesses have a plan to grow and develop a business and have an exit plan to sell the business at some point. A shareholders agreement allows you to include provisions such as drag-along rights, which allow majority shareholders to force the sale of minority shareholders' shares in circumstances where an offer to purchase the whole shares of the company is made. If you're looking to sell, the last thing you'd want is to jeopardise the sale of a minority shareholder being awkward, in the hope of getting a bigger payment or just wanting to hold on to their shares. Drag-along rights ensures those shares are also sold. Number 5, you don't have any minority shareholders. A minority shareholder is someone who typically has less than 25% shareholding. Many companies still want to provide minority shareholders with protection over some of the decision making to give them comfort. One example could be the issuing of new shares and thus diluting current shares. And so a shareholders agreement might require unanimous consent of all shareholders to allow such actions to take place. Number 6, you do not offer shares to employees. Often directors or other senior employees are given shares in the business to motivate them financially and link the business growth to their own pay packet. However, giving shares to an employee is dangerous if not done properly. For instance, if they were to leave, resign, be fired, then no doubt the company would want them to transfer their shares back and not be able to sell them and profit from them. The best way to achieve this is to have them enter into a shareholders agreement and include a mechanism that if they leave employment, they must offer up for sale their shares. The agreement can then determine at what price they should be. Sometimes it can be different for a good leaver compared to a bad leaver, and the agreement can deal with that. Number 7, you don't care if someone leaves and sets up in competition against you. If you're super confident that a shareholder leaving your business and setting up in competition, taking away all your clients and customers and using a similar brand name to your business is not an issue, then you don't need a shareholders agreement. However, this is a real risk and I've seen it happen with some significant damage caused. A shareholders agreement can include restrictions on what the person leaving can do in the future. And finally, number 8, you'll never need to borrow any money from a bank. So having a shareholders agreement demonstrates to third parties such as a bank that you're serious, that you've given things some thought and built in some resiliency to your business, that any future disputes could be dealt with swiftly and effectively. Banks like such stability, and so they'll always look to see whether or not you have a shareholders agreement. That's it. Thanks for watching. They're my 8 reasons why you don't need a shareholders agreement. As I say, they are slightly tongue-in-cheek. My view is that all businesses, all companies that have 2 or more shareholders should have a shareholders agreement. So if that's you and you need a shareholders agreement in place, give me a call today on 0116 3667 900. Visit my website www.stephenmather.co.uk. Thanks very much. Goodbye.